Welcome again to another episode of Eden Life. I'm here with my queen, my wife, and we had such a great time in the last episode. If you haven't watched that yet, you want to do so. We looked at why Christians are sick. And we ended that episode by saying there are several reasons why Christians are sick, and we do not make light of any of them.
Yes.
We know that some sicknesses are by reason of attacks.
Yeah.
Right?
Direct
The devil,
from the pit of hell.
yes, the devil has come not but to steal, to kill, and to destroy. One of the ways he kills is by sending sicknesses and disease.
Yeah.
All right. We also know from the book of Deuteronomy that part of the curses that came as a result of the fall of man was sickness. So every believer, or at least those who are enlightened, know that the enemy also has a role to play in some sicknesses and diseases. Take note of that word, some, because that's not all, right? Sin also has a role to play,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
In sicknesses and diseases.
I think it was because they sinned in the desert that God sent serpents amongst them,
Yep.
and that was biting them and killing them.
So sin is a huge thing. Jesus told, I think it was blind Bartimaeus, go and sin no more.
Yeah.
So, right, we have attacks, and almost every believer says, oh, it's an attack. Well, the truth is, it could be, but it's not always an attack.
It's not
Sin
always the case.
could also play a role. What else could play a role in reasons why Christians fall sick?
Okay, so lack of responsibility. Not
Lack
taking
of-
responsibility for our health.
Yes,
That's
and
another.
that includes, we looked at a few things last week, or the last episode, we looked at things like
The foods
rest.
we eat. Yeah.
Yes, the foods we eat. And we'll be having another episode that will deal on options of what to eat. We like to call that the Eden lifestyle.
Okay.
Right, so we'll talk about a lot more about that because our knowledge of this keeps growing and expanding.
Exactly.
But also we looked at rest.
Yes.
You know, after God spent all the time creating 6 days, what did he do on the seventh
He
day?
rested completely.
Right, tell us a little bit about rest. How long? How should we rest? What is rest?
Okay, so rest is a moment where we are, it could be sleep and it could not be sleep. Rest does not necessarily have to be sleeping completely.
Yeah.
But one way that the body tries to repair itself is actually when we do sleep. And some experts have said humans should get between 7 and 9 hours of sleep every day. Now, for some people, I've once said that might not be realistic. But if it is not, the quality of the sleep they get is very important. For some people, they will never be able to get that 7 hours, 8 hours, or 9 hours. And that's okay if they've done all, but they can't get that time. But the time they do get, they need to ensure calls are not disturbing them, people are not banging on their doors, so they can get that deep restorative sleep
Now, before
that
you leave
rejuvenates
that,
them.
don't go from that. You know, in our age, with all the disturbance we have, telephone, TV, and so on and so forth, you would agree that we had a long period of our life, at least a couple years, where we didn't allow TV in our bedroom,
Yes.
right? You also have the element of having the lights off, putting your phones off, because if you want to get that rest, we should be able to take out all that disturbs.
Yes.
So say a few things about
everything that disturbs, because it affects how deep we can sleep, and then making the place completely dark also helps us fall asleep well and to sleep deeply as well. If we also have devices that we are playing with, or not playing with, but maybe learning, it could even be something as legitimate as learning something that will be of benefit to us. If it's close to bedtime and we are still on those devices, then we could sleep, but then our brain is still doing some work. The brain is not resting, and we actually need it to rest as well. So we want to take some time before actually falling asleep, where we do other activities that can help us in falling asleep, like having a warm bath, like shower, and yes, an aromatherapy bath, soak in it, where we can help our body temperature rise enough to get good sleep. We could also put warm water bottle on our tummy. That helps to raise our core temperature and helps us fall asleep quickly.
Wow. And you know, I commented in the last episode that one of the things I've studied very closely about these great revivalists, I discovered not all of them lived very long.
Yes.
I intend to live very long.
Yes.
Right? And so we should be able to learn from their mistakes.
From the mistakes of others.
No matter what, your spirit still resides in a physical body. In fact, you can't walk around here as a spirit.
Yeah.
Right? You need a body to walk around, and your body demands that you eat right, that you rest right. But also, very importantly, I think we mentioned that scarcely in the last episode, our thoughts.
Yeah.
You know, Philippians chapter 4 verse 8 talks about the things we should think.
Yeah. That's
Right?
that's the thinking syllabus.
The thinking
for
syllabus.
the Christian.
All things that are just, all things that are lovely, of good report.
Things that are pure.
You see, if you keep thinking of evil, there are some people that are the first to transmit every evil report.
Yeah.
It has a way of affecting your health. You know, people have great testimonies, celebrate on their behalf. Don't just celebrate when there is a downfall.
Yeah.
These things are very, very important.
I think I should also mention here, not just even thinking evil, but also speaking it.
Yeah.
And whether it's rejoicing at it or not, I remember the story of someone, and this is not to make fun or anything, but it's just for those of us still alive to learn from what happened. She was probably almost the first person to tell you someone who was sick, or someone who was in the hospital, or someone who had just died. And like a year plus after a very close friend of hers died, she was the one who carried the news as well. She was also gone.
Wow.
Remember her story?
Yes, yes, yes.
And she had stomach cancer, and she was saying, oh, this is the same thing that happened to her friend. Why is this happening to her?
Wow.
But most of the news you got of deaths was from that source. So we need to be careful what we allow, what we say, what we think about, because it's very powerful. The devil capitalizes on it, especially when it's evil.
Yeah. So you see, all we've done so far is we've said it goes beyond attacks. Attacks are real, right? We know that. It also goes beyond sin.
Yeah.
Sin is real. We know that. But when it comes to responsibility, right? This is our part of the deal. What do you eat? What do you think? What do you speak? How well do you rest? The next thing we should talk about is how often do you exercise? And the first thing you hear many believers say is, I don't believe in that. For bodily exercise profited little.
Yes.
Well, but the little you get from bodily exercise has a great impact on your life.
Yes.
In fact, my own philosophy personally of exercise is you don't need a gym. That's great if you can afford it. But guess what? Jesus showed us something very important.
Exactly.
He walked.
He walked. Because many Christians will tell you, oh, I don't have time for a gym. I don't have access to it. I don't have a gym in my house. I don't have a treadmill or things like that. That's a lie they tell to themselves, to tell themselves, I can't do this. This is not for me.
Yes.
And you don't need anything expensive
That's key.
to keep yourself fit. You don't.
Take walks. Like you know, recently relocating here in this wonderful environment, I've seen driving as luxury. So there are times in the morning for the covenant hour of prayer, I take a walk. Walk to the church, walk back from church, and I already have 3 miles.
Yes.
By walking to and fro. With my suit, with my tie, with my Bible, you don't need to change to actually exercise. I think the word exercise is a bit confusing. I think what we should say is just move. Move.
Movement can be a better word.
Right? One of the things you can do is have a tracker.
Yeah.
Many phones today do the same job. But movement.
Yes, some form of movement.
In fact, I'm told that when you look at Bible history, some parts that Jesus walked was 10 kilometers. Right? I say this not to slight anybody, but even from every picture we have seen about Jesus and the disciples, none of them was overweight. This means something. Jesus prayed for the sick. All kinds of miracles took place. They had donkeys he could ride on for comfort, but yet he still walked. He still moved.
He moved. Yeah.
He still moved. Movement is very, very important. What else would you say that helps in terms of our responsibility? I think a big thing before you speak would be company. You look at that story you told of that lady that I personally know and the one who passed on that I personally know. Company has a lot
to do, yes.
Right, so tell us a bit more about that.
Company. Well, again, I want to go back to the Bible of saying that he that walks with the wise will be wise, but a companion of fool will be destroyed. So choosing your company, you could be in the midst of people who tell you, forget that thing. That thing does not work. And you have someone on the other side of the spectrum encouraging you to do that. But when you are choked in a company that does not allow it, it takes a lot of discipline and God's help to be able to step out of that. Also, if you're in the midst of company where everything they eat is everything you're trying to step out from, then you probably are going to fail. Except for God's help and discipline. Like Daniel was able to discipline himself, and he determined he was not going to defile himself with the king's rich food. So our company is important. We choose our company wisely. Bishop Oyedepo would say every time that association of friendship is not by force, it is by choice. So if you find someone that you are not going in the same direction, they don't think the way you think, they don't see things the way you see things, it is not evil, it is not wrong. You don't hate them when you separate and you go separate ways. Because your destiny, if it matters to you, you would choose things that move you forward and not what somebody else thinks. How will they think when I step out of this company? Many times when people do that, it's because they are inadequate in themselves. They feel, oh my God, he's leaving us alone, she's leaving us alone. I'm just going to be the only one here. Step out and have them join you.
I think that's also important. So this is the bombshell here. You can actually change company on the account of your health.
Yes.
That's serious. Because we've always said, just change company on the account of spirituality. That's true.
Yes.
But you can change company on the account of your health. You and I know that during the pandemic, where all this transformation took place, and this is maybe 2.5 years going on 3 years now, what helped us was just stepping out of the usual company. That relationship we formed with our trainer. The relationship that grew stronger between the both of us during that pandemic, all helped in achieving this goal. So that is very, very important.
Having like minds is very, it can't be negotiated. Having like minds is very important in achieving this as well. Not just any goal of life, but also even with your foods, with your healthy choices, with your lifestyle choices, having people with like minds, because they are going to spur you to want to be better than you are. But if you're the only person in the group who believes a certain way, they will drag you down.
Very important. So we've said there are several reasons why Christians get sick. One is attacks, and we deal with that spiritually. Two is sin. We deal with that with repentance. Three is responsibility. And we deal with that by taking action. Remember, David didn't just speak to his Goliath. What did he do? He ran towards his Goliath. 1 Samuel 17. In 3 John verse 2, he said, I wish above all things that you prosper and be in health. responsibility.
Responsibility.
Right? God said, this is what I've created for food. Genesis 1:29, responsibility. So 3 major reasons why Christians get sick. 1, attacks. 2, sin. And 3, maybe we say irresponsibility.
Yeah, irresponsibility.
Right? The cure to attacks is what?
Spirituality.
Growing your faith. The cure to sin, repentance. Righteousness. Holiness. And the cure to irresponsibility is responsibility. Right? How do you prove you're responsible? Watch what you eat. Watch what you think. Watch what you say. Watch the company you keep. And then there's something very important.
Get active.
Movement. I believe with all this, we are sure to turn the narrative around because we have authority and responsibility right in front of us in order to remain healthy. It's been good being with you in this episode. Right, till we see you again, have a blessed day. Bye-bye.